Chapter 3 is all about hiring ethical people. If you want to create an ethical organization, the one thing that helps more than anything else is to hire ethical people. If you hire ethical, honest people, a lot of other things are easy. But it's not always easy to know if somebody is ethical or honest. Sometimes we get fooled through the job interview process. So what I have in that chapter is a six-stage process that you would do as an HR person or any person that's hiring somebody to help understand the ethics of the job candidates, because you only got a short period of time with the candidates. The first step in the process is to let everybody know that you're going to do an ethics job screen. Imagine that you're a really ethical person that has had difficult situations with other companies. If the company advertises, we do an ethics job screen and you're ethical, that's great, that's fantastic, I want to work there. If you're a person that messes up on purpose, that steals a little bit, and if you know they're going to do an ethics job screen, you're not going to apply for the job. So already just by advertising that you're doing an ethics job screen, you're attracting good people and you're detracting people that aren't so good. Next, step 2 in the process is the legal ground rules. So I review the Civil Rights Act, the rules and regulations in terms of what kinds of questions you can and you can't ask during the job interview process, what kind of criteria you can use to hire somebody, or what kind of criteria you can't use not to hire somebody. So that provides a legal basis that everybody ought to know about. Step 3 is behavioral information. That means begin with the resumes. Really take the resumes seriously. Our researchers report that 20 to 40% of every resume contains misinformation. What kinds of information are on resume? Somebody attends a workshop and they have it on the resume that they were going for an extra degree. Somebody had a small task to do and they write on the resume that they were the chair of the strategic planning committee. Not true. People tend to overestimate, exaggerate their work experiences and their responsibilities. So you want to be aware of that and then ask people those questions when you do your interviews. Reference checks. It's one of those obvious things, but a lot of companies don't do reference checks. And sometimes you don't do a reference check because you figure, who's going to be the reference checks? 3 people that are going to say good things about the person. Sometimes when somebody thinks is going to say a good thing about them, the person doesn't do that. And I've had that experience when I'm interviewing people. I think, oh, should I bother doing the reference checks? And I call one of the references and they tell me, no, that person wasn't a very good worker. And I think, boy, why did that person have that person as a reference? Nonetheless, the person was very, very honest with me. So you want to do reference checks, you want to do background checks, and you want to do integrity tests. So I talk about how to do integrity tests and how to do background checks. Step 4 are personality traits that you can do. There's thousands and thousands of personality traits, and scholars have looked at to see which ones are connected to ethical behavior. And the number 1 is conscientiousness. So if you did a survey of job applicants, you want to survey them about conscientiousness, because people who are conscientious tend to be very, very ethical, and they tend to be very, very hard workers. Another survey that correlates highly with ethics is organizational citizenship behavior. How often do you help out another worker? And then there are some other key ones that you want to be careful of. There's a nice bullying scale. People who turn out to score being bullies tend to be racist and sexist. And you might think, who's going to fill out a scale that's going to say that I'm a bully? Some bullies are proud that they're bullies, and they do that, which is amazing. The 5th step in the process now is interview questions. So I recommend you ask them. You ask the person, tell me about an ethical dilemma you face at your job. And hopefully, if they're aware, they can tell you one. If they can't, I might ask them, have you ever seen a woman being sexually harassed by an employee? Oh yeah, what did you do about that? So you want to engage them, because human beings are creatures of habit, that's Aristotle. And we live in patterns. So the way that they reacted to unethical behavior at the previous organization is pretty much how they're going to react to unethical organizations in your organization. And the 6th step is drug testing and doing polygraphs. If you work for the government, you can do polygraphs. If you're working in the nuclear power industry, you can do polygraphs. Drug testing, it's essential for if you're driving a bus, if you're being a subway conductor on a New York City subway. So those are the steps that you go through hiring somebody. And if you go through these 6 steps, by the end of the process, you have a pretty good feel for who this person is and what their ethics are like.